if you feel lazy, if you feel stuck, if you wake up tired even after sleeping. This story is not here to motivate you. It is here to tell you the truth you may be avoiding. There was a man named Aaron. Nothing was wrong with his life on the outside. He had a small room, a stable routine, and enough food to survive. People around him said, "You're lucky. At least you're not struggling." But every morning, Aaron woke up with a strange heaviness in his chest. Not pain, not sadness, something quieter. He would sit on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, telling himself, "I'll start today." Start what? He didn't know anymore. His phone buzzed with reminders he kept ignoring. Unread messages, half-finished plans. Dreams that once felt exciting now felt embarrassing. Aaron wasn't lazy in the way people imagine. He didn't spend his days partying or wasting money. He just felt empty. Time passed differently for him. Hours disappeared without meaning. Days blurred together. Weeks ended with the same promise. Next week will be different? But it never was. One evening, Aaron sat alone in a small cafe near his apartment. The kind of place where people came to escape silence, not to talk. Rain tapped softly against the glass. The lights were warm. Everything felt calm. And yet, inside him, there was restlessness. Across the room, an older man sat alone with a notebook. He wasn't typing. He wasn't scrolling. He was just writing, slowly, carefully. Aaron couldn't explain why, but something about that bothered him. Not anger, not jealousy, discomfort. The old man closed his notebook, stood up, and walked toward the exit. As he passed Aaron's table, he stopped. "You look tired," the man said gently. Aaron forced a small smile. "Yeah, I guess I am." The man nodded, as if he already knew. Then he said something that made Aaron's chest tighten. "People think laziness comes from lack of discipline," the man said. "But most of the time, it comes from avoiding a truth you don't want to face." Aaron froze. The man didn't wait for a response. He simply walked out into the rain. Aaron sat there long after his coffee went cold, because for the first time in a long while, he felt exposed, not judged, not insulted, seen. And that scared him more than being stuck ever did. Aaron didn't sleep well that night. The old man's words followed him everywhere. Into his room, into his thoughts, into the quiet space just before sleep where excuses usually lived. Avoiding a truth you don't want to face. The next morning, Aaron tried to do what he always did. He reached for his phone, scrolled, checked nothing important. But something felt different. The noise didn't distract him anymore. It only made the emptiness louder. He got dressed and went outside, walking without a plan. His feet carried him back to the cafe. The same chair, the same warm lights, the same rain-stained window. But the old man wasn't there. Aaron felt strangely disappointed and relieved at the same time. He ordered coffee and sat down, telling himself it meant nothing. But his mind refused to rest. For years, he had blamed himself. "I'm lazy. I lack discipline. I just need motivation." But deep down, he knew something else was true. There was a thing he had stopped doing, not because he failed, but because he once tried and cared too much. Aaron remembered it clearly now. A project he abandoned, a goal he never talked about anymore, a version of himself he quietly buried after it didn't work the first time. He told himself he had moved on, but he hadn't. He had just learned how to stay busy enough to avoid thinking about it. A voice interrupted his thoughts. "You came back?" Aaron looked up. The old man stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I hoped you would," he said, placing one on the table. Aaron hesitated. "I don't even know your name." The man smiled. "Names aren't important yet." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Aaron spoke, his voice low. "You said laziness is avoiding a truth. What truth?" The old man didn't answer right away. He looked outside at the rain. "Tell me," he said. "What did you stop doing? Not because you couldn't, but because you were afraid to care again." Aaron's hands tightened around the cup. He opened his mouth to speak. Nothing came out. The truth was closer than he wanted it to be. "If you don't name it," the old man continued calmly, "your mind will protect you by making you tired, distracted, and numb." Aaron felt his chest grow heavy. So I'm not broken? He asked quietly. The old man shook his head. No, you're avoiding disappointment by avoiding effort. That sentence landed harder than any insult ever could. Aaron leaned back, staring at the ceiling. All this time, he thought he lacked motivation. But what he really lacked was the courage to face what he still wanted. The old man stood up. Tomorrow, he said, I want you to do one thing. Aaron looked up. What? Not action, the man said. Honesty? Sit alone. No phone, no noise. And write down the one thing you keep running from. Aaron swallowed. And then? He asked. The old man smiled. Not kindly, not cruelly, but truthfully. Then you'll understand why you feel stuck. He walked away, leaving Aaron alone with the coffee he didn't want, and a truth he could no longer ignore. Aaron waited until night, not because he was busy, but because silence scared him. When the world finally grew quiet, he sat at his small table. No phone, no music, no distractions, just a blank page. Minutes passed, then more. His mind tried everything to escape. You're tired. Do it tomorrow. This is pointless. But he stayed. Finally, his hand moved. Not confidently, not neatly. He wrote one sentence, then stopped. His chest tightened as he stared at the words. Because the truth wasn't complicated. It was painful. He had stopped trying because the last time he tried, he failed publicly. People had seen him believe, they had seen him hope, and then they had seen him fall. So he learned a safer way to live. Do nothing. Expect nothing. Feel nothing. He wasn't lazy. He was protecting himself. Aaron sat back, feeling something unfamiliar rise in his chest. Not motivation, not excitement, grief. Grief for the version of himself who once tried without fear. The next morning, he returned to the cafe. The old man was already there, as if he had been waiting. I wrote it down, Aaron said quietly. And? The man asked. And now I feel worse, Aaron admitted. Because I know what I've been avoiding. The old man nodded. Good. Good? Aaron frowned. Yes, he said. Pain means you're finally touching something real. Aaron looked down. So what do I do now? Start again. Chase the same thing? The old man shook his head slowly. No, he said. You don't start big. You don't chase outcomes. He leaned forward slightly. You do one small, uncomfortable thing each day. Not to succeed, but to prove to yourself that failure won't destroy you. Aaron was silent. What if I still fail? He asked. The old man smiled gently. Then you'll discover the truth you've been avoiding, he said. That failing it didn't break you last time either. Aaron felt something shift inside him. Not energy, not confidence, permission. That day, he didn't transform his life. He didn't make a plan. He didn't feel inspired. He simply did one small thing he had been avoiding. And for the first time in a long time, he went to bed tired for the right reason. Nothing dramatic happened the next day. No sudden confidence, no surge of motivation, no applause from the world. Aaron woke up feeling the same heaviness. But this time, he didn't argue with it. He remembered what the old man said. One small, uncomfortable thing. So he did it. Not perfectly, not bravely, just honestly. The next day, he did another. Some days he wanted to quit again. Some days the old fear whispered, why try? But now, Aaron recognized that voice. It wasn't laziness. It was self-protection. Weeks passed. Slowly, something changed. Not in his schedule, but in his posture. He stood a little straighter. He avoided his phone a little less desperately. Silence no longer frightened him. One evening, he returned to the cafe. The old man wasn't there. And for the first time, Aaron didn't feel disappointed, because he understood now. The man was never there to fix his life. He was there to point to the truth. Aaron paid for his coffee and walked outside. The air was cool. The street was quiet. He felt tired. But it was a clean tiredness. The kind that comes from showing up, not hiding. And that's when it finally became clear to him. Laziness was never the enemy. Fear was. Fear of trying again. Fear of caring again. Fear of facing the version of himself he had abandoned. When he stopped running from that truth, his energy slowly returned. Not as excitement, but as direction. So if you feel lazy, if you feel stuck, if you feel exhausted for no clear reason, ask yourself this quietly. What truth am I avoiding because it scares me to face it? Because the moment you stop running from that answer, you don't suddenly become motivated. You become free. And that is where real change begins.